Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Gillette, and here with me is
Omar Pozos. What's going on, everybody? How are you, Vanessa?
I'm doing good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Because, I mean, those who are just listening to podcasts right now don't know this, but we are actually recording video for the first time.
We are. So now you can't, mess with me whenever I mess up or make funny faces at me because people are going to see.
Well, now I'm like hyper aware of the fact that I typically go to these podcast recordings with like no makeup on, just kind of basically look like I rolled out of bed. I'm pretty sure I have like toothpaste on my shirt right now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so it's kind of feels like you're starting over like the very first recording of the podcast. I was so nervous for that, you guys. If you go back, you probably can hear my voice shaking at least on episode 2. Episode 1, you might have heard me slurring a little bit because I'm not going to lie. I had a high noon beforehand to kind of like ease the nerves.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. We did do that, didn't we? We
were
drink
so
just
nervous, you guys.
Down.
I don't think you understand.
Or we like would run out of breath and we're like, I need help. Like I need to breathe. Somebody help me.
I forget to breathe. But yeah, no. So we're just doing a new venture, starting to get some video. We're hopefully going to get this up on YouTube. Maybe get some kind of Instagram content out of this. I don't know. We're gonna see. We'll wait and see.
Follow us along. You will get to see all of the mistakes and toothpaste that is on Vanessa's shirt and our out of breath experiences and how we mess up on camera too. Yeah,
but that's not what we're actually talking about today. Today I want to talk about how to build a booty. I mean that's what it is today, because you know what, guys. Back when I was
no pun
really
intended. But I was about to say, so that's where, what is it? Lil Jon song was like, booty, 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 rocking everywhere. And that's what
Unfortunately, we don't have that button on our podcast set for that. But, back when I really first started my own fitness journey and I was like getting in shape and different things, I was always looking at just like wanting to lose body fat. I didn't really realize to the extent of how much you can actually shape your body into what you want it to look like with the kind of tips that we're going to give today. And the biggest one is when it comes to your butt, your glutes. People don't realize how much your training and your nutrition, all these things really influence that. And they don't realize that a lot of the times the reason that they have like a flat, deflated booty is because of what they're doing, not necessarily just because of genetics. Obviously, yes, genetics plays a role. Some people are born like Kim Kardashian. Some people are born like me.
I don't know. I think Kim K had some other like doctors help her and inject her with stuff.
I'm not going to like make any statements on the podcast, but guys, like let us know what you think. If is it real? Is it fake?
If you do make some comments, Kris Jenner will be after us, so please do not.
We love the that would be one way to really blow up the podcast. So
like literally, she might just blow it up and cancel it.
But I did not naturally have a booty. I was pretty much like had a flat booty, and the fact that like I also had a belly and just like some kind of more unwanted curves, it was hard for me to always justify like kind of heading into that direction of women that would be a little bit more of like the, if you're more overweight, like it's okay, like you have curves. And I would try and tell myself that, but then honestly, like the way I fit into my clothes and things, I didn't have the type of curves that made me feel confident. I had curves in places I didn't want curves, and the places I did want the curves, like on my butt, I didn't have them.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it was because I was just doing things that were preventing me from actually building up my glutes, because your butt is essentially just a collection of muscles, and just like any muscle, they can be shaped into the way you want it. So like you can sculpt your body like a beautiful sculpture, and you can make it the way you want it.
I like the
visuals
for the people that could see us. Yeah, the visuals that Vanessa's making here to build the, what do they call it? The dump truck, the peach, the booty.
You're gonna need a CDL for this. But yeah, so I just really want to drive that point home before we get into these tips, these really secrets to building a butt. No matter where you currently are, what your natural physique is, what your genetics are, you can shape your butt to be more round, more full, just overall bigger the way you want it to be, regardless of where you're starting from. You can get it bigger than it currently is if you are doing the right things.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of the body is, sure, you might be limited at first by genetics or, you know, what your current body shape is. But like you said, it's almost like a molding clay. Like if you feed it correctly, if you work out correctly, you can get it to a point where you can be happier with the way that you look and just, you know, the curves and the butt that you have essentially.
Yep. So let's dive into the 3 secrets to building a butt. Secret number 1, stop doing the lightweight workouts, stop doing the booty band workouts, and stop doing those things that are just meant to get you sweaty and out of breath and expecting to get a shape, the shape you want out of it. Instead, train for strength. That's number 1.
Yeah, and I think you and Aaron said it a couple weeks ago on the episode. It's like, you know, if you guys follow a lot of the Instagram influencers, the girls that are wearing the matching tops and matching bottoms, sure, they might just do these exercises for video or for content, whatever. But the reality of it is, you know, the reason they look the way they look is because they have to either gotten some work done on, you know, with, I don't even know what kind of work people get nowadays for their butt implants, or they've done these things to get them to the point where they can now do these light workouts and then, you know, make people think that that's exactly what they do all the time. But you're right. Making, you know, if you want to get a bigger part of your body, you have to lift heavier.
Yeah. It's just like you can, you know, women don't understand that. Like they think, well, if I were to do a bunch of bicep curls, then I would end up with biceps like a man. But yet they don't quite understand that if you were to be lifting heavy on a glute more focused exercise, like a Romanian deadlift, like a hip thrust, like some of these things, and you were to really load it up, just like any other muscle in the body, it grows in response to that. But if you're doing these like basically like the group fitness class types of exercises or like the HIIT workout apps or just these types of things that are designed to make you feel like you're doing something because it creates that like burn in the butt. It gets your heart rate high and it causes you to break a sweat. It might feel like you're doing something effective because, you know, you're sweating, you feel tired, like your muscle is burning. Like, why wouldn't you think that that's effective? But the reality is effective doesn't always like feel like a burn or a sweat or just a high heart rate. Effective when it comes to actually growing a muscle like your glutes is essentially going to feel like taking long rest periods between sets because you need to give your body that time to rest between the sets. So like spending a couple of minutes between your sets to bring your heart rate back down, to let your nervous system come back down so you can go into the next set with the same power, but also just as quality of form as you did on the first set. That's huge. And that only happens if you're doing these like more intentional strength type of training programming.
Yeah. And the other thing too, not to rip on, you know, group classes because they can be fun, but the reality of it is, and we tell this to people we talk to all the time is, you know, those workout classes are really designed to be fun, to kind of, like you said, get your heart rate up, get you moving, get you burning some calories, but they're not really built for you and your particular goals, right? Like a proper strength training program that you follow would be. So essentially it's like, you know, if you show up to a lot of these group training classes and you expect, you know, to have all these aesthetic goals, but yet you're doing what everybody else is doing. And then you know, 6 months or a year later, you're like, why is my butt not growing? Or why are my goals not being met? Or whatever that might look like. It's like, well, you're doing generic stuff when you're not a generic person. You're one of a kind. You got to work on things, you know, based on what is best for you and your body.
Yeah, and it's very easy to get confused when you do see some other women who maybe are doing those types of classes, and then suddenly, you know, they do have some of like the more muscle definition that you want. You see that woman, and you're like, man, I just want to look like her.
Yeah,
I need to do what she's doing. But it's not that simple. Every body is different, and genetics plays a huge role. So just because that one woman in your group fitness class has a nice butt.
Karen, we're going to call her Karen.
And then yet there's probably some Karens listening that are like
oh,
feeling
my
attacked.
butt's not that big. Oh.
But yeah, okay. So if Karen has a great butt and she's doing the group fitness class that you're in, you doing the same thing as her does not mean that you're going to get a butt like Karen. But Karen, if we put her on a strength training program that is a little bit more designed for her body and just actually more intentional around being able to grow your glutes, guess what? Her body would be like 10x what it is. And those are the types of people are the ones that end up like stepping on stage, being bikini competitors, because they naturally already have the genetics. Then if you throw in really intentional training programming, then they can get to that next level of basically shaping their body exactly how they want it to look for the judges who are judging them. Your everyday woman obviously isn't trying to step on stage like that. So she maybe doesn't care as much. And she might be like, you know what? I like the way I look. I enjoy this group fitness class. And if that's you, fantastic. I'm happy for you. I really am. But if that's not you, if you're not happy with how you look, yet you're continuing to do that group fitness class or following that workout app, and you're still looking the same time after time, it's probably time to look yourself in the mirror and say, maybe what I'm doing just isn't actually working.
And the other thing too that we need to talk about, Vanessa, is like, if you want to work on these things and, sure, you might do these group training classes, and eventually after all this stuff that you're doing, sure, maybe your butt might grow, but is it going to take, 6 years or 10 years, or can it take, 6 months, or, if you do something that's more custom to you? And the other thing is that I kind of wanted to, that now I've gotten a little bit more into fitness and have kind of done, like the nutrition side and the training side correctly. It's not really what that person is doing at the gym, the 1 hour that you see, Karen or whatever her name might be, but it's what is she doing outside the gym that you're not seeing that is getting her the physique that she's getting. Again, it's not necessarily the 1 hour that she's spending in the class. It's what she's doing outside the class that's really getting her the results that you think the class is giving her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really good segue into secret number 2 on how to build a bigger booty. And that is stop cutting carbs, stop dieting, and just eat to grow. Your glutes, your butt, it's a muscle. And just like any other muscle, it needs the building blocks from the nutrients from the food that you're eating in order to grow that muscle. You're not going to just build a butt out of thin air. Like, your body can't just like magically create it. It needs the building blocks of like the construction material essentially to create it. So you could be training perfectly. You could be doing everything correctly and yet still not seeing the muscle growth happening because you're under eating. Or even sometimes people just like continuously eat even at maintenance and they may not quite see the response they want. A lot of women, we actually end up, if they really want to get to that next level of really growing their booty, we put them into a little bit of a calorie surplus. And guess what? If you're doing things correctly, you're working with a coach, you're doing this the right way, that food you're eating, 9 times out of 10, it goes straight to those muscles that you are working. And that's how you end up eating more food. Like, it's amazing, honestly. It's really, really fun being in a calorie surplus. You're eating way more food. And at the same time, it's like just going straight to your butt in a good way, in like a fullness, tightness way, not just like the, I don't know,
jiggly, extra little bit of weight.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Not that there's anything bad about that, but just saying, like, if you're intentionally wanting to grow like a fuller, tighter booty, that means we're growing the muscle. We're not necessarily adding body fat there. And muscle needs calories to grow.
Yeah, it's like the analogy, and we always kind of talk about this. It's, if you're driving a car and you run out of gas, it's like, well, common sense would lead you to believe that you need to put more gas in it for it to go faster and farther, right? So it's the same thing with your body. It's if you're restricting it of fuel or carbs or the right nutrients, then how can you expect, your butt or whatever part of your body you want to grow if you're not feeding it enough food? So don't be afraid to eat. Yeah. Especially if you're training correctly. It's like your body is such a machine that as you're adding that lean muscle, you can burn more calories, so you're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't really know where to start with the nutrition, of course we have a lot of episodes on this, but the best place to start is honestly just joining our free Facebook group. We actually just recently renamed it. It's now called Women's Metabolism Secrets because that really encompasses everything that goes into that group. But we have a macro tracking crash course within that where we really teach you how to understand how much you should be eating, the different quantities of the different macronutrients, and really just figuring that out for yourself, starting to track it, just really getting you to that place where you can actually eat the right amount of food for your body.
And I am telling you, the amount of people that I talk to, Vanessa, that I'm like, you know, they're like, yeah, I track macros or I track calories. I'm like, oh, awesome, fantastic. I'm like, you know, just out of curiosity, like, how did you get the numbers, or how did you come up with the calorie targets? Like, well, I went online and, you know, used the random calculator, or I used the Lose It app is the one that I've heard recently. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, you know, did they take into account, you know, how much you're moving, you know, what your daily activity levels?
There's so many factors to take into account with
that. They just gave me a random number, and that's what I've been following for 3 months, but I'm not seeing results. I'm like, let me send you this macro video series. I'm like, it'll change your life. And then people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do all this.
Exactly. But let's wrap it up here with secret number 3 on how to build a butt. And that is train your full body, not just your glutes. And I think this one is probably unexpected for people, because a lot of times, you know, you see things on social media like, oh, you know, grow your glutes, download this like glute building program, the booty blaster, like all these things. And, you know, I say this because this used to be me. I would fall for that stuff. I would just basically train my butt and my abs. Like, cause I was like, that's what I want.
I thought you were going to say your, with the curse word part. I'm not cursing on this podcast. I would train my abs and my abs.
Your donkey?
Yes, your donkey. There you go.
The donk-a-donk. But no, I would literally was like, okay, I want to have a nice butt, and I want to have a nice, you know, small waist. I want to have like ab lines, you know, of course, like most girls want some of those types of things. So guess what? I figured, well, sure, you know, I don't care about my upper body. I don't want to look like a man. All I'm going to do is do butt exercises and ab exercises. And guess what, guys? I got nowhere with that. Never really saw any change in my body. When I did get my nutrition in check, I was able to lose weight, but I ended up kind of skinny fat. I did not have the definition underneath that I wanted when I lost body fat. And it wasn't until I learned how to strength train properly and train my full body that I was able to actually see the just ridiculous change in my butt, to where honestly, yeah. So, I mean, and I get it that this one is probably harder to really conceptualize, because you would think that like training only your lower body and doing just like all these exercises that really like create that burn in your butt is going to have a better return on your time for growing your glutes. But the reality is, when you train your full body, a couple of things happen with that. So number one, you're essentially just sending a signal to your whole body, your whole nervous system, telling it like, we're growing muscle here. And that's going to travel from top to bottom. So even when actually on the days when you're like, maybe you're doing upper body days and lower body days, you might on those upper body days be focused more so on obviously your upper body, on your shoulders, on your arms, on your chest, on your back. But because you're sending that muscle building signal to your body, it's essentially like spreading to the rest of your body, because it's just a louder signal overall.
Does that also help with like overtraining, so that you don't like overtrain one particular part of your body?
Yep. That's the second thing I was going to get to, is that the other important thing is that overtraining is a thing. If you're doing just lower body workouts all the time because you want to focus on your butt, you're not going to ever give your butt the time to rest and repair and recover and go into that actual muscle building process, because the actual muscle building happens in the rest time, not in the workout time.
The one oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so when you are having like, whether you're doing full body workouts and you're going to be going like maybe back and forth between some exercises that are a little bit more upper body focused versus lower body focused, having that time in between where you're not just training your lower body, it gives it some time to rest and recover. And so that then you can go into the next set, the next exercise, the next workout, whatever it is, in a place where now you can hit that muscle again. Send it the signal to grow, and just give it time to recover, then send it the signal again.
The other cool thing that I heard once on I don't remember what podcast we were listening to, Vanessa, but it makes so much sense after I heard it that I'm like, oh, well, how come I never thought about it? But like, if you think of it as like you're sculpting your body, right? And you not only focus on your glutes, but you also focus on your quads or your hamstrings, and just leaning that part out can accentuate like the different parts of your body, to where potentially you can make your butt look bigger than it really is, because you have toned legs, or because you have a toned midsection, or whatever that might look like, right?
Oh, 100%. Like a lot of times women will be like, oh, well, I don't want to have big legs, so I only want to do my butt, and I'm not going to do my legs at all. But girl, if you have tighter hamstrings, literally, like, and this is, we're having videos, it's fantastic.
I like
I'm like drawing in the air right now. The curve, like where your butt ties into your legs, it's going to accentuate the roundness of the butt because now you have a tighter hamstring, as opposed to if you just have like a looser, like
saggier. Yeah,
essentially hamstrings, like the back of your leg, then even if you have a nice butt, it's not going to look as nice because we're looking at the full picture. I hope nobody, but nobody's like just staring at your butt. People are looking at the full picture.
Yeah.
But I imagine that for some people, maybe this is like having them be like, oh my God, what I'm doing is not working clearly. So like, what do I do now? How should I actually train my glutes? Well, lucky for you guys, we're taking the guesswork out of things. If you listened to our episode a couple weeks ago with Aaron, our movement specialist, our head training programmer, he did help us really put together a incredible...
What episode was that? I'll look it up.
I think it would have been the last two actually prior to this one. So he helped us really create just an incredible 3-day full body training program that is guaranteed absolutely going to grow your glutes, because this really takes into account the secrets I shared with you guys, especially if you also are now utilizing that in addition to the nutrition resources we're giving out in the free Facebook group. Like, there's no reason that this wouldn't work for you at this point, unless there's something a little bit more specific going on. You know, everybody's a little bit different, and that's where working with a one-on-one coach, of course, can really help you break through that and get to that place. But honestly, you could always just shoot me a DM too. Sometimes there's just little things that need to be tweaked. I'm always happy to kind of look over what you're doing and see if I can offer you some help. But the program that I'm giving you guys, absolutely free. It is in the show notes. Go ahead, download it now. You can do your workout program at home or at a gym. Regardless, it is just really going to get you the results, get you the butt that you actually want, and it's completely free. So you really can't beat that. This is actually very, very similar to the program that our client Asia, she used to grow her glutes when that was really an emphasis. It was a goal of hers when she came to us, was she wanted to add the muscle, add the definition, of course, add the tight defined curves. And I think I shared it not too long ago. So if you go into my Instagram around the time that I'm releasing this episode, you should see it. But I shared a before and after transformation of her butt. You guys, it's amazing. And I'm so proud of her because she trusted the process. She allowed us to put her in a calorie surplus, like I talked about. She's currently eating, I think, like almost 2,800 calories, crushing it, super consistent. She's been training 3, sometimes 4 days a week, depending on her lifestyle and her schedule, kind of like really just finding that consistency.
Right? No, she's a doctor. She's in the healthcare industry, right? So she's got a crazy busy schedule.
Yeah, she's super busy. And of course, everybody has stuff going on in life. So it's about finding the consistency. It's not about being perfect. But this is very, very similar to the 3-day program that she was following during that time. Of course, hers was more customized to her because, I mean, obviously, to be clear, like the most optimal way to train your body is going to be working with a one-on-one coach who really knows you well, knows your body, can see week after week what is working, what is not, make the adjustments, make the changes to make sure that you actually get the best possible results. And that's what she's been doing for the last almost a year now that she's been with us. But I think really just if you're not ready for coaching or it's not just in the cards for you right now, starting with these free resources we're giving you guys is incredible. And I'm really just putting this out there because, gosh, I wish I had these resources back when I got started.
And at the end of the day, if you're training your body the right way and you're eating the right way, like you said, you'll have so much more success and you'll be able to make so much more progress as opposed to if you keep doing the generic workouts, maybe eat, I don't know, as much as you can, or graze over snacks or whatever that might look like. It's like, at least let's have a little bit of structure to help you make some structure. Whether or not you want to join the team, that's totally a different story. But these are the steps that, get people, like you said, like Asia, to really have success in reaching those goals that they want.
Yeah, but if you are curious about what that could potentially look like for you as far as like the customized coaching, the path for you, just DM me the word booty and we'll just talk a little bit, see, what you're looking to achieve, see if we can offer you some help. At the very least, we'll just get you on a free strategy call to really talk about what you could do from here, regardless of whether that means you're working with us or not. We don't really care about that. We really, truly just want you to get the results because We know how much we struggled back in the beginning when we were first getting started. And man, again,
when I was building my butt.
He's still working on that, you guys. But
yeah, my calves are there. My butt needs some work.
He spent some years in his calves. The butt is now playing catch up. Yep. But that's all for us this week. Thank you guys for listening. If you are watching the video and you're enjoying it, let us know. Leave a comment so that we can continue to do this. Hopefully you can't see the toothpaste on my shirt.
Subscribe, do all the things so that we can continue to make these videos to help as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Please.
And if you are listening to the podcast, all you need to do is just leave a rating and a review, please. If you genuinely do enjoy this podcast, of course, if you don't,
still do it. But
I mean, sure, like leave honest reviews because that's helpful feedback for us. But if you do actually enjoy this, if you're getting value out of it, please just leave a rating and a review because it really, really does help us reach more people where we can get even better guests for you guys, where we can continue to really just reinvest back into the podcast to provide better resources for you.
So absolutely.
That's all for this week. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week.
See you guys.